Hi and welcome. I'm Steve Martirano, and this is the Behavioral Corner. You're invited to hang with us as we discuss the ways we live today, the choices we make, the things we do, and how they affect our health and well-being. So you're on the corner, the Behavioral Corner. Please hang around a while. Hey guys, how you doing? Welcome to the Behavioral Corner. I'm your host and guide, which is a funny thing to say for a guy who hangs on a corner. My name is Steve Martirano, and what we do here on the Behavioral Corner is we sit, we chat, and we run into really interesting people. The deal is that almost everybody, if you're lucky, has something that they're about or doing that certainly affects their health and well-being. I mean, what is behavioral health except the way we behave and how it impacts us physically, emotionally, spiritually? So in that context, we're able to talk to a wide range of people in all kinds of, in this case, hustles in a great sense, and find out what impact that's having on them. So that's what the Behavioral Corner is about. And we hope that you're liking it when you check us out. It's all underwritten by our great partners, which is Retreat Behavioral Health. And the fellow that we're going to talk to today is going to do some work with them. We're going to find all about that. TJ Griffin is, I guess the best way to describe him, he is an entrepreneur. He is a man enmeshed in the music business and show business. And he's also the founder of something called the Vision Program, which is a program set up to mentor at-risk young people. So we're really grateful. We caught him coming out of the convenience store across the street on the corner, waved him one over, and he's going to hang with us. TJ Griffin, thanks for joining us.
Hey, what's up, Steve? I'm happy to be here. Grateful to be here.
This is a great topic because we'll get into it a little later on about directing positive energy and pathways for people in utterly desperate circumstances to see their way out of that. And nothing better sums it up, the Vision Program, than the quote that sort of at the top of your website, which I loved. And it said, being born in the hood doesn't mean you'll die in the hood. That's a great quote. We're going to find out the whole thing right now with TJ Griffin. TJ, you founded this organization about 10 years ago?
Yep, 2011, founded the Vision Program. It's an acronym, so it stands for Values Inspiring Students in Overcoming Negativity.
How does that come out of your background? Your background is basically show business, right?
Not really. My background's the guy, we're on the corner right here, Steve. So my background is I'm the guy on the corner.
Okay.
And from the inner city with everything that comes with that. So that's my background. And then street dealer, then and that's entrepreneurship, by the way, but just in a negative aspect. And then I could kind into entrepreneurship and working with the youth, and then getting into the music industry as a part-time thing. So many different avenues there, but I started on the corner.
Yeah. Fabulous. Then we found you're right where you need to be, back on the corner. This is a fascinating thing. Where are you from? Tell us a little about your background.
All right, great. I was born in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, and it's actually a famous little town that's known for its Amish community, beautiful country side and farmland. But what's not known nationally is the Lancaster city, which is this little, now very beautiful, always been very beautiful. It's gentrified now as well, and it's one of the top destinations in the country to visit and retire by Forbes magazine. But there's also an inner city in this place that's kind of hidden. And you don't see that on the brochures. You don't see that on the Amish community. You don't see that on television. But there's this inner city that is plagued by, the same things that are plagued by the inner city of Philadelphia, poverty, gangs, and everything that come from that. So I grew up in that environment, and my mother and father split up at an early age. The difference between me and a lot of my friends that I was close to is a lot of my friends, more than 50%, didn't have an active father in the household. I didn't have that because when my mother and father split apart due to addiction, my dad battled alcoholism his whole life. It was out of control, alcoholism at that time. He was still always a phone call away from me. So I needed my dad, even if he was hungover, he would get up and show up. If I needed $10 or something, my dad would get it to me. A lot of my friends didn't have that. So I did have that foundation in my life, but he battled addiction. My mother remarried, and then they battled addiction. My mother's battling cocaine addiction. And then through all that, the guidance that I had as a younger kid in my teenage years started to weaken a little bit. My mom was, always on top of me, TJ, get up, go to get your butt to school. When's your report card coming out? I need to see this paperwork showing up. When addiction snuck into her life, it was no longer even checking on my report card. It used to be get your butt up and go to school, boy. It's 8 o'clock. Now she knock at 9 and say, are you going to go today? So now you got a kid that's already engulfed in the inner city life. Dad's there for him, but not in the household, so I can get away with a whole lot. And my mom battling this addiction, so I just lost a lot of accountability and started to travel down the other path.
Yeah. Well, that drugs, man, changes everybody's priority. No mom starts out thinking, well, today I'll stop paying attention to my kid. The drug just sets its own agenda. I certainly understand that. It's interesting. No matter where you go in this country, we're familiar, generally speaking, familiar with pockets of poverty and isolation. But I think most people see them in the context of big cities. You'd be hard pressed to find somebody who would be surprised to find out that there's a hood in Chicago or LA or anything. But we don't think about that phenomenon occurring in the suburban areas or exurban areas like you're talking about. Because I know the area you're talking about, it's farmland white.
Yeah.
And
now beautiful growth and prosperous downtown and city. But inside, beautiful like there's an inner city full of poverty, death. Somebody was killed last week. This is an all the time thing right here. And that's all across this nation. All across this nation, pockets like this.
So I understand what you're saying about Lancaster's now hip. Great place to take all that new money and run off into the farmland. And what does it feel like for the young people you deal with who see that changes, but their circumstance doesn't change? What effect does that have on them?
It's routine. It's just you're used to that. The effect is your belief system. When you don't see people of your own or people around you, if you don't see that growth and that success in your daily life, it becomes like a pipe dream.
I worry that what it also leads to is this sense that you're right. They're not surprised by it, right? But it leads to a sense of the game is fixed. Somebody doesn't want me to get ahead.
Yeah. And that's actually a mindset that is there's truth to that. The game was fixed. We can go, systemic racism and all that stuff is a whole other conversation. The game is fixed. But what I try to do with some of my programming, I think we should. Can I go back a little bit, Steve, real quick?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I think we got to understand what the vision program is. I came up that way, and maybe you're going to come back to that question. But the vision program is really an organization that is designed to mentor, educate, and inspire incarcerated youth. Incarcerated youth or court adjudicated youth that a lot of times fell through the cracks and now they're in the system. Now they're kind of like forgotten about. And that's why I founded the vision program. And the at-risk youth are the ones that need to see different avenues because of there's ways to make it. Yeah. So that's the foundation of the vision program.
Well, that's exactly what I was going to get to. And those people not only know the game is fixed, they got fixed during jail, right? Yeah. Like, okay, well, I wonder, as somebody in your position and in the vision program, the first thing you got to do is acknowledge to them, yeah, I get it, man. You're right. You're right. It's fixed. I get it. And then move beyond that to go.
And then what are we going to do about it? Then what are we going to do about it?
Because just because it's fixed, you can't quit.
Yeah, and for generations we've been saying, hey, we need this, we need that. Why don't they give us more opportunities? Why don't we get this? Why don't we? And there has to come a time where you say, okay, now what am I going to do? Stop saying we need this or we need you to do so much and take action within your own community, within your own life. And that's part of what my program teaches and mentors is, yes, all this is real. Systemic racism is real. The poverty was real. The abuse was real. The neglect was real. Yes, all this was real. But now that we know, what are we doing? And a lot of times we take this street mentality and we use that as a deflection, as a way of giving up and saying, yeah, I'm a street dude. This is what I am. This is who I am. This is what I'm going to do for almost like a badge of honor to be this to not break free and to not break free to change and not to find a way out.
Yeah. And the proof is in the number of young Black men under lock and key in this country. I mean, it's It's unbelievable.
And Steve, like a kid like me, even though I had a father in the house, I had a stepfather in the household too. My mom, they got divorced. I had a father in my life, but I also was on welfare, on and off. You know, my dad had a good job and he worked in a factory. Mom was on and off of welfare. I never really had all the nice things. By the time I'm a teenager, when you come from poverty and all you see around you is poverty, materialistic things and money become very, very important to you because you want to find a way out of this hell. Mm-hmm. Well, what you try to do, you try to relate to people, like you said earlier, relate to people that have money. In your community, you don't see that unless it's the local drug dealer. You know a couple people that work businesses, small businesses. You know a couple people that have careers, but they're all coming back working check to check in the hood, still broke, still at the boat, still on the welfare with the welfare card. So you don't want to be that. So you look for people to identify with. What I did is I said, okay, the drug dealer is getting money. He looks like me. He comes from where I come from. I can do what he can do. But also who looks like me are athletes. And they look like me. Some of them come from these neighborhoods and they made it and they have the mansions and the money. And then the third person is the rapper. The rapper looks like me, comes from the environment. He has the girls and the jewels and the bling and the mansions. I can do that because it's a belief system. When you see people like you that come from where you come from and they attain something, you believe you can attain that. In our neighborhood, we didn't see the doctors and the lawyers and the business owners and the college graduates. It was on TV or what the teachers tried to say. So I wanted to be the rapper. I was going to be a rapper and I was going to hustle, illegal hustle until I became a rapper. That became my only way out because I didn't know any better.
You know what's interesting about that phenomenon? Only poor people aren't allowed to keep score by material means. They've got bad bowlers. Wait, what do you want all that bling for? Excuse me a second. Who don't want bling? What? Yeah. Are you kidding me? Only poor people are not allowed to keep score that way. We all keep score that way. That's unfortunately how we keep score. So when you talk about a hustle, you're talking about it in the most positive way, because clearly you're not saying to young people, everybody's going to be Jay-Z or everybody's going to be Michael Jordan. You want to light the light in their head that says, oh, but there's a way out of here.
Yeah. Yeah. So the Art of the Hustle is actually a curriculum, and it's also a series of programs and workshops I do. And what it basically is just kids like myself. Everything I teach is not for every kid. Like, that's just what it is. I'm the hip hop dude from the block, from the corner, and that's the God has put on a passion for me to focus on kids like myself. In the meantime, I get to work and bless with so many other. That's my focus. Demographic kid there's a lot of them in the system that struggle academically. It's just not something that they do well at. I was one of those kids. And there's a lot of people that don't do well in school.
Yeah.
I was one of them kids. I hated school, Steve. I hated the pressures. I hated everything about it. It was just, by the time 6th, 7th grade came, I wasn't interested at all. And society said, well, wait a minute, son. You need to continue going to this and go to get these degrees. If you want to be successful, son, this rap game's probably not going to do it. And the drug dealer's definitely not. You need to go get these degrees. I'm the kid saying, but miss, I can't stand school. And when I work my hardest, I get C's. How am I going there? It's not realistic.
Yeah.
Kids like that in the system to say, okay, shit, excuse my language. They say, well, I can go I got my diploma. I can go get a job and do all right. But then what they see all these different avenues and they say, wait a minute, I see my mom has a job. My mom has a diploma and we're still broke. I can go get some money here. So my program says, hold on. Guess what? The kid with the C's can hire the kid with the A's to do what he can't do in his business. Simple phrases like that will have a kid perk. What, mister? What? No. I'm trying to tell you now, entrepreneurship's not for everybody because you got to be a hustler for real. You claim to be a hustler and all your raps and you're in here for selling drugs. So you claim you're a hustler. Let me switch it. A real hustler can take that energy and switch it. You can sell an ounce of weed. You can sell a house as long as you know how to get the profit right. And it's donkey questions like that. And when I say that, they say, wait a minute. I'm like, yeah. I said, guess how many degrees the bank asked for? Guess how many degrees they asked for when you need 25 grand to start your business? How many, mister? I say none. What? None. Guess how many? See, this information they never had before, Steve. So before you know it, you have to get the young man or the young girl like me sitting in this facility saying, wait, what? And I have their attention. And I say, guess what? The art of the hustle is just learning about financial literacy, understanding assets and liabilities, understanding what credit is, how to maneuver in it, and understanding generational poverty. How, because your grandmama was on welfare, that's why your mama's on welfare, and that's why you're on welfare, unless you break this generational poverty and this mindset. See, kids that don't do well academically or is not fit that box, in my community, give up. They give up. They say, hell with that. I ain't working for that little bit of money. It's worth me risking my life, which is crazy, but this is the mindset. Worth me risking my life and my freedom to feel good, to have something nice on, to have a decent, nice car. I'm not doing that and struggling. And they choose it, which is miseducation. Then the environment now will give you a badge of honor and salute you for being that position of the drug dealer.
Yes.
That's what you'll do right there. So that's all miseducation. Sorry, I get a little.
No. Listen, it takes passion. TJ Griffin with us. He's the founder of the Vision program. These are the techniques he's talking about that he employs when he meets these young men and women, I suspect, who are either under lock and key or about to be under lock and key, breaking through to move past the negative feedback loop to see the positive thing. Listen, there's nothing new about young people in a community looking at older guys who are on a hustle, whether they're Jewish gangsters, Italian American gangsters, and going, I could do that. I can do that. What's missing in that is, and I know it goes on in the communities you're talking to, there is an enormous amount of potential, energy, a certain kind of intelligence, sometimes very, very significant, hard work, right? And it's untapped.
Yes.
If I heard you right, TJ, you said you've got to go to these people where they are, not where you think they ought to be.
Yes. Meeting you where you are. Sometimes you can't maybe show up on the block or the corner, but you can meet them where they are culturally.
And so the expectations change. Suddenly you're not saying to them, no, you've got to sit in class 4 hours a day, or you've got to pursue this kind of way out of here. Because you're right, some people are not scholars.
Yeah. Well, my message always, I got to make it clear, because when I'm teaching the opportunities in entrepreneurship, education is key in America. I tell them all the time, you better get your diploma or your GED. You need to focus. But for some of the youth that going, and now even in Votech is such a great opportunity now in America, you go to school for half the time for a little bit of money and make more money coming out than kids coming out with college degrees. So that's a great opportunity. But there is that little group of kids, out of 10 kids locked up at that juvenile detention in your hood, in your community or your hood, out of them 10, 5 of them or 4 of them are not even going to Votech. They just can't do more school. That's the 4 I'm trying to say. You can get a decent job. That's great. That's what a man or woman does. Success ain't money. But if you need a little more, entrepreneurship is a viable option for you. Once they believe that, you'd be surprised at the lights that go off. And then the questions that come in. And once I have their attention and the questions come in, I can feed them and connect them to the information they need.
For the broader community, the lesson should be, and we don't learn this fast enough, is that, again, as I said, there's a lot of untapped potential. These are hardworking people, and they want to get ahead. A great story I just read about Floyd McKisson, who was, one of the leaders of the civil rights movements of the 60s. He formed CORE, I think, the Congress of Racial Equality. And in reading about him, the discussion of McDonald's came up, which is interesting. McDonald's in the 60s saw the cities burning, saw what racial strife had led to such frustration and violence. But McDonald's wanted to open franchises in those neighborhoods, right? Rather than pull out of those neighborhoods, saying it's too dangerous, they went, well, wait a minute. Let's go find people in that community that will help them get franchises and let them be owner-operators so they'll have a stake in it. Maybe there'll be less violence. Today, the National Association of Black McDonald's franchise owners is the biggest organization of its type in the world.
Wow. I did not know that.
It's a great story, and it's underreported, because if McDonald's is smart enough to do it, a lot of other businesses can do it. Let me ask you, as someone who's the point of the spear going into these communities and mentoring these kids, how much help do you get from the broader business community? Are they on board with you?
I don't really reach out for a whole lot of help. I have been helped, and the times I have reached out for help and support, whether that would just be marketing or sponsorship, I've gotten it. But I haven't reached out for a whole lot of help. It's just something that I just move forward doing. And I was in the beginning, it was because I use hip hop culture and hip hop music. I'm the hip hop guy. So in the beginning, I got a lot of resistance to that. This guy's going to come in here and teach hip hop and rap. And haven't really gotten much help because I haven't asked for much help. It's just Vision Program is a social enterprise. So I do it by myself and have some sister companies. And a lot of the revenue that we make goes back into the youth that we serve and the communities we serve.
So let's talk about hip hop culture. You mentioned it several times and hip hop techniques. How would you describe the culture surrounding hip hop to someone who had no idea what was going on?
Yeah, so people think hip hop, you think rap right away, music. The simplest way as I could say is someone that says, what is rap is something you do, hip hop is something you live.
Rap is something you do, hip hop. Break it down for me.
Rap is an element of the culture of hip hop.
Right.
Hip hop is a culture. I am hip hop. It pumps through my blood. It's part of the way I walk, my talk, my slang, the way my pants sag a little bit, not in a disrespectful way. I could meet with you in the founder retreat and you would never see my pants sag, but they sagging a little bit. So it's part of my culture. Rap is an element of the 4 elements of hip hop. I use that culture and my experience working in the business. I have credibility working in the hip hop genre business and the music business. And I use that to help bridge the gap with the kids I serve. So I have a plus 2. One plus is they can look at me and my success and see that I was locked up like them in the system. I come from the same environment and I found a way out. I can show them and I made what they consider successful. Then I show them that I worked in the music industry and they can see the credibility with that. I have their full undivided attention. So I don't do nothing special. Why? It's because I have credibility where the kid that normally shuts down when the old head comes in trying to teach him, what's this guy get? I have this credibility with him. Right. And that's where I can get the message across. Here's a little lesson real quick. Hip hop is the biggest selling genre of music in the world today. Not even 50 years ago, they said it would never last. It's the biggest selling and streaming music on the planet today. It's only been a few years holding that position, but it looks like it's not going anywhere. Every urban environment in the planet Earth is governed by hip hop culture. Every urban environment, from the hoods of Japan to Kenya, Africa, you'll find murals to Tupac Shakur. That's powerful.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. And you know what? It extends well beyond the urban scene. What's interesting about the culture that you've just described is that they talk about culture wars, right?
Yeah.
Sort of a culture wars. That war's over. Hip hop won. It won. It is every white kid they don't listen. A couple of them want to grow up to be, I guess, but most of them are looking. This is it. This is what I love.
Steve, this is factual. No genre of music in the history that we've been here has brought more races together globally than hip hop music. It's a fact. No genre of music has penetrated more different races and cultures and brought together than hip hop. It's a beautiful thing.
This is a great conversation for you and I to have, because you know what's interesting. Look, the contribution of people of color, artistically and culturally, we don't need to go into. But music, are you kidding? I mean, first of all, there's jazz music, which is the only truly, authentic American creation, right? We know where that came from. But, pop music and rock and roll, without African Americans, without people of color, none of that happens. The difference, tell me if I'm wrong now, the difference between what happened to rock and roll and what happened to hip hop is that at the beginning of rock and roll, white culture went, well, we can make a lot of money with that, but we got to have a white guy doing this.
Yeah.
We can't, maybe Chuck Berry a little bit later, but not right now. Let's find us a white. Didn't happen with hip hop, did it?
Yeah, and the white guy was a bad boy too.
No. He
was a bad boy too. But that's the truth. With hip hop, it came straight from the corner.
And they didn't go looking for Pat Boone.
Yeah,
they didn't. They went, well, let's let them do it. They're doing it. Let them do it. And so the power of that is just so overwhelming. I always tell people this all the time. If it wasn't for the contribution of African Americans in pop music, we'd still be doing John Philip Sousa marches. Da, 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 da.
This
bored
is true, Steve. This is true.
Bored to death would be awful. Fine.
True.
So, but again, let's get back to what you do, because yeah, that's a pretty package you bring to these guys. Look at this. Look at Snoop. Look at Snoop was like shooting at people. Look at him now. He's hanging with Martha Stewart. Look at Jay-Z. Who's bigger than Jay-Z? Jay-Z was selling dope, and all that.
And that's part of what I do, Steve, because when I can establish street credibility with my history and then establish hip-hop credibility, I have their ears full. That's when I can actually penetrate and say a lot of the stuff in hip-hop is miseducation. I love the culture. I love the music, guys. It's me. But that doesn't mean I got to be real. A lot of this stuff is nonsense. And a lot of the messages that the artists are given is detrimental to our well-being, and they ain't even living it. You guys are living it more than the rapper you're listening to that says he's killing up everybody. So I teach it, but I have their attention. Not anybody can go in there and say that. You start talking about the culture and the artists they love, they will shut down on you so quick and get out of here. But since I bring this credibility, I say, listen, you know how many rappers that don't really live this lifestyle? They have off-duty police officers guarding them. You guys think they're killers and they're this and they're that, and it's entertainment. Al Pacino, y'all know who that is? Some say yeah. I say, y'all ever see Scarface? Everybody's hand goes up. Tony Montana, do you know he's really an actor named Al Pacino? He's not a Colombian king. He's not a kingpin, right? And your favorite rapper isn't either. So I can say this stuff and get these certain messages. So I'm a hip-hop educator as well. I teach them the culture and get them through this miseducation, which also goes back to street culture and all of it's together. Hip-hop culture and street culture are one and the same. But there's elements of hip-hop culture that have gotten watered down and have digressed. And I bring that to their attention as well.
Yeah, in what way? What are we talking about?
The music aspect of hip-hop used to be it is and always will be a magnifying glass to what's happening with the youth in the streets and the culture. It's always a magnifying glass, but it used to be a time where it didn't glorify what the kid seen when he opened up the window. You heard the message by Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five, "Don't push me, cause I'm close to the edge." That was a song about the environment. It's the first street song in hip hop. It's like a jungle sometimes. It makes me wonder how I keep from going under. The jungle is this environment, and it makes me wonder how I'm still alive. It's so hard. And he talks about the prostitution. He talks about the crackheads in the alleyway that piss on the floor, and that it's like, don't push him because he's close to the edge, and I don't want to be here no more. That used to be hip hop showing the world, look what this environment we live in. Look what we're struggling in. How do we get out? Then it's digressed to a point that we've embraced the environment and the music and say, yeah, I'm a street dude. Yeah, I love this. Yeah, I push drugs. That was against the elements of the culture in the beginning. You weren't allowed to get high. You weren't allowed to push drugs. You weren't allowed to do any of that. Then it turned to become a glorified position in the streets, which then you hear through the music. So that's part of the problem.
We're talking to TJ Griffin. He is the founder of the Vision program, an acronym that stands for Values Inspiring Students in Overcoming Negativity. TJ, do you go into prisons?
Yeah, juvenile prisons and juvenile facilities.
And to crack through the facade of the culture you're talking about, the picture of it, to the underlying values of it. Yeah. What does it take? Because the kid's sitting there thinking, what is he talking about? The way out of here is to become rich and famous as a rapper.
Crack to the facade is I did a TED talk called The Paper Plane Effect, a TEDx talk called The Paper Plane Effect. And the paper plane effect is basically about environments and how it affects the child's belief system. But the way I can affect the youth mindset that is already so miseducated and so embedded in him is to only show him or her somebody like them and how they made it out. That's why they identify with the rapper and the drug dealer, because they're people that they have identified with that have found a way out to success, which usually looks like money to them at the young age. When I can show them I got a little bit of that stuff called money. I got a nice little house and a nice car and a pool in my yard. I'm not no millionaire rich guy, but I can show them some success. They pay attention. That's how you break through it. Then they see that you come. I'm like, look what? Look at what? Oh, by the way, I also worked in the rap game a little bit. Oh, what? I broke through. Now, guess what? I used to be in a place like this. Word? Guess what? I got a learning disability. I got ADHD. They say I'm dyslexic. What? I'm breaking through, Steve. And I said, okay, what did you do, TJ? This is what I did. I checked my circle of friends. I went to stupid, crazy school. I thought you couldn't do school. No, I do this school. And I show them the books. Look, I'm driving. Stuff, see, the video, at least we're not showing the video for the podcast listeners. I just knocked over my shelf.
Bus went by and hit the newspaper box here on the corner.
But yeah, then I show them the books and I show them, see, I'm not saying education is definitely for me. Guys, look at these books and how many books I read. By the way, the Vision Program has actually given away over 700 copies now of personal development books to incarcerated youth, like Rich Dad, Poor Dad, The Mentor, The Kid, and the CEO, Purpose-Driven Life. I partnered up with another author by the name of Tom Pace and given away hundreds of books to incarcerated kids.
A lot of these kids have learning disabilities that are undiagnosed, right? They have problems reading and attention and stuff like that.
PTSD, like so much trauma and stress in their life. So it's just a lot.
Trauma is, I think, underappreciated. You're right. I mean, there's all kinds of people associate trauma with a specific thing that may have happened in your life, when in fact, traumatic events can be just waking up in a poor neighborhood every morning. That's traumatic.
And you're unaware of it. Unaware of your whole life that you have been carrying around this trauma in your life.
Sure.
It's normal in many environments. There's millions and millions of kids that the stuff they see day in and day out is just normal. It's normalized.
Yeah. It's like asking a fish about the water. Fish doesn't know what you're talking about. TJ, this is just fantastic. I know you're going to be doing some stuff with Retreat, and I look forward to when that happens, maybe getting you back on the air and talk a little bit more with you. If folks listening want more information about Vision Program, what should they do?
You can check us out at the website, thevisionprogram.com. Reach me out there. I'm on social media, on Instagram at im.tjgriffin. And we have a sister company called Creative Hope Studios, where we're going into agencies and treatment facilities and programs and building creative spaces with recording studios for facilities that are used for treatment and rec as well. So check us out at thevisionprogram.com or creativehopestudios.com. And shout out to Steve for having me on the corner. Welcome to the block, and keeping it safe for me where I can hang out here, nothing to worry about. I appreciate that. And shout out to Marissa too at Retreat and Brian and everybody else over there.
Well, TJ, thank you. It's important work. Absolutely important, and good for you for doing it. Hey, come back again. We'll hang anytime.
Thanks again, brother. Have a good one.
You too.
At Retreat Behavioral Health, we believe in the power of connection and quality care. We offer comprehensive, holistic, and compassionate treatment from industry-leading experts. Call 855-802-6600 and begin your journey today.
That's it for now. And make us a habit, hanging out at the Behavioral Corner. And when we're not hanging, follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter on the Behavioral Corner.